Today's instructions are for Excel Project 6. Go ahead and open a blank Excel spreadsheet, and then if we glance at the instructions for Project 6, we're going to use columns A through D. We do need to format our headings, subheadings, and column headings, adjust our column widths. We are going to use the internet to fill in serial costs for the serials that are blank right now. You'll determine a total for each row and copy the formulas to the other rows. Find a total for columns B and D. Center the unit columns except for the total. Format your unit total cell to comma with no decimals. Our currency columns, the cost and the total columns will be currency with 2 decimals right aligned. We'll have a single top and a double bottom border on our total row. And then we are learning 4 new functions that will go at the bottom of this. We're going to use a function to find the number of serial types, the average units, the maximum units, and the minimum units. Now I do have those formulas or functions written on the board at the front of the room. Be sure that you add those to your formulas notes as you're going through. You do need to run a spell check. You'll center horizontally and vertically on the page, add a class header to the top, and then on this one I do need the Excel version submitted so I can look at your formulas afterwards. Okay, click in cell A1, turn your cap lock on, and then go ahead and key in your main heading. Then in cell A2, you'll put your subheading. Be sure you turn your cap lock back off. Row 3 will be our blank row, and then our column headings will go on row 4. So we have type, units, cost, and total. Then go ahead and fill in the numbers that we do have. In A18, make sure that you make the word totals bold and all caps. We're going to leave row 19 blank and then add those 4 items at the bottom. After you get column A keyed in, go ahead and click on the line between the A and the B to widen column A. Then you can go ahead and key in the entries for column B. And then you're going to key in the costs that you do know. And then you are told to use the internet to find a website to look up the other values. And I noticed that a good site, if you just do a search here and do online groceries or online grocery shopping, there is this one called netgrocer.com. This seems to be a good site to go to. So you would just type in the first one. So we have Wheaties here in our search line, and then click on search, and you will get 2 versions of Wheaties. Let's go ahead and do the smaller ounces. So the price is $5.39. Go ahead and plug that in, and then I'll have you guys look up the other 3. You can use the same website. I'm just going to put $1 on mine, Do not use $1. I know it does not cost $1 for those boxes of cereal, but I want you guys to find your own values using that website. All right, once we have all of that keyed in, we are going to go ahead and fill in the totals that go in column D. Now we need to figure the total for 82 boxes of Honey Nut Cheerios. So we're not going to use 82 plus $2.59. We're going to have to use multiplication. So we'll do 82 times $2.59. So our formula in D5, we'll do an equals, click on the number under units, then do a star for times, and then click on the number under cost. So we end up with B5 star C5. Do a Control Enter. That displays the answer but keeps you inside the same cell. Then you can grab your fill handle and drag down through D17, and you have your totals for all of those. Now we do need to total column B and we need to total column D, but we are not going to total column C. So there at the bottom of B, in B18, we're going to do an auto sum. Go up to your editing group and click on the auto sum button, and it will predict that we want cells B5 through B17, which is correct, so we'll press enter. And then we'll skip column C. Over in column D, we'll go up and click on auto sum again. Be sure it selects D5 through D17, and then you can press enter. Now before we fill in the 4 functions at the bottom, let's get the rest of our spreadsheet formatted. So we'll click in cell A1, make it bold and 15 point, and then we want to center it across our table. Now the last column we have text keyed in is column D, so we'll highlight A1 through D1, click on merge and center, and then for our subheading we'll highlight A2 through D2 and then click on merge and center. Your column headings are on row 4, so we'll click on the number 4 out to the side. Those should be underlined and centered. And then for our number formats, you are going to highlight from B5 down to B18. Now these need to be formatted to number style, and we need to add a comma. To do that, the easiest way is to go to the number group and to click on the launcher. From here, make sure you're on the Numbers tab, and then in the category listing, you'll click on Number. Over to the right, change your decimal places to 0, and then here's how we get the comma to show up. We're going to click on this little check mark next to Use 1000 Separator, and then be sure for your negative numbers, you choose the top option. Then click on OK. Now the only one that'll add a comma to is the very bottom for your total. We do need to center these numbers except for the total. The total we do not want centered. So we're going to highlight B5 through B17 and then go up to the alignment group and click on the center button. Now we'll highlight the numbers in columns C and D. So from C5 to D18, and those need to be formatted to currency with 2 decimals. We can go to the number group, click on the drop down next to general, and choose currency. Now our totals row, row 18, we need to highlight from A18 over to D18, and we need to add the border that goes with a totals row. So in the font group, we'll click on the border drop down and choose top and double bottom border. Now we should be ready to go ahead and adjust our column widths. So I'm going to highlight from A over to D, and then double click on the line between D and E to shrink those columns down. And we need to run a spell check, so I'm going to press F7. Now it is going to stop on Rice Krispies and Cocoa Krispies. The way I have it spelled in the book and in your instructions with a K is the way that Kellogg's spells Rice Krispies. So we're going to come over and click on Ignore All. Say yes, you want to continue at the top. And then don't forget, just because your spell check does not stop on anything else does not mean you have it perfect. Double check your number values. Be sure that you double check your spelling and whether or not you have capitalized things correctly. Be careful with those. We also need to center horizontally and vertically. So we're going to go to the Page Layout tab, go to the Page Setup group, and click the launcher. Click on the Margins tab, and then choose horizontally and vertically there at the bottom left-hand corner. Then click on OK. Now for our functions here at the bottom, next to number of serial types, we are going to use a count function. So we'll type in equals, and we'll start to type in count. When you see it in the list, go ahead and double click on it. That will add your opening parenthesis. Now we want to count the number of serial types, and we need to use the units column. So we're going to highlight from B5 through B17, and then put your closing parenthesis, and you can press enter. We have 13 different types of serials. Now, yes, you could have just counted to 13, that's fine, but if we had 500 and something types of serials, we don't want to count that far. So a count formula would do that for us. Also, if we add or delete types of serials, it'll update the number that we have there in our formula as well. Next, we'll click in next to average units, and we're going to use an average function. So we'll key in equals average. When you see it in the list, you can go ahead and double click on it. And then again, we want to use the numbers under units. Do not include the totals row, or that will inflate your average. So we want B5 through B17. Then we do a closing parenthesis, press enter, and we should get a 78. Next to maximum units, we will do equals max, and then do B5 through B17 again, closing parenthesis. And the highest number that we have is 99. And then for our last one, we'll do equals min, and highlight B5 through B17, add your closing parenthesis, and that displays the smallest number in the range. So we have, the most boxes we have is 99, and then the fewest or the least number of boxes is 54. Now it does ask us to highlight these numbers and be sure that we format them to number with no decimals. So we're going to go to the Home tab, and in the number group we can click on the number launcher, and in our category go ahead and choose number, 0 decimal places. And if we wanted to add the thousand separator just in case we got up to over 1,000, you're welcome to do that. It won't make a difference on this project. And we can click on OK. Now for this assignment, I will be viewing your formulas. So if I were to do a control tilde, I should be able to see that you did count, average, max, and min, and that you did multiplication and sum. So make sure you're not just typing those numbers in. And then I did a control tilde to turn that back off. All right, let's do our class header. So go to Insert, then go to the text group, click on Header and Footer. In the left section, type in your name. In the center, type in your class period. And at the right, click on the File Name button. Now we have not named our file yet, so this is a great place to go to File, Save As. Make sure you change to your student drive, and go into your Computer Tech folder and into your Excel folder. This one will be called Project 6. When we do a print preview, our spreadsheet should look like this. On this one, I do not want a PDF version. I need the Excel version so I can check your files, your formulas and functions. So I have locked it so that you cannot submit a PDF on this one. So be very careful that you are submitting the correct version, and make sure you've definitely saved at this point before you submit. Alright, you should be ready to load this one into Canvas, and again, don't forget to write down the functions from the board and add those to your notes as well.